And we are on another Free Flow Saturday. Episode
This
number?
is 30, bro. I actually think it might be actually 31. There's a place where I misnumbered, so I need to go back and see. So it's 3031 there. Huh? Shortly we
I,
will be hitting 50, bro.
and I was listening, I think it was in Andrew Kive's space when he said that most podcasters, they rarely go past, I don't know, nine episodes. After, I don't know, is it 10 episodes? Everything crumbles. So we are doing well, yeah?
We are doing very well. That's true. I thought it was actually even one. The statistics are bad, bro.
It's
Huh?
it's that bad. So we are doing well.
We are doing well if we are on our 30th episode.
Uh,
It's not
30th
a bad
live episode. 30th.
live episode. Yes.
But they also, Ion Takuliza, but I think we were having so much noise in our heads. Oh, this life is very complex and
Yes.
not. So, we watch Ayende Bwana. Tutajulia mbele.
I mean, that explains it. Remember the other day when we were discussing about uh, the percentage of those who are unemployed
Mm,
based on the level at which they have attained in education, in schooling,
mm,
if I may
mm,
put it as such. And
mm,
they found it's actually highest
mm.
amongst those that have graduated university. If you look at the percentage of those that are unemployed, uh, for people who probably either went up to primary or dropped out at some point, or went up to secondary and then didn't proceed on to university, the unemployment rates amongst those segment of people were much, much fewer compared to those that have gone to college, have attained a university degree. And it says a lot. Sometimes when you sort of cloud your mind with a lot of information, instead of it being of benefit, it ends up to some degree becoming detrimental to you.
I call it. They call it. I read it. I was listening to some video. They call it information constipation. Constipation. Your head is jammed with formulas and theories and Sharif Mustafa, karibu sana. This is our lone wolf audience coming to listening to two rambling madmen. I call it
Yeah.
constipation. You have so much information, so much data, and like when we were doing Zero Bike, we used to discuss, hey, this, then you say, okay, wait, fine, everyone, let's put this thing together. Even if
Mhm.
it end up looking like a donkey, you just put it together,
Mhm.
Mtajulia. Because if you start, I think I gave this example some time back. Someone is selling some contraption that looks funny. People laugh at him. It tries
Mm.
again. It looks a bit improved. People laugh. Then one person buys it. It runs. It doesn't run so well. He comes back and say, "Hey, kitu nimenunua kwako haiko sawa." You being a good businessman, you take whatever was brought to you by the client, you repair it, you retune it, and you return it back to him at no cost. It runs so well, he gives you back feedback. Hii ulitengeneza iko sawa. So you're like, oh, that is the one that works. You manufacture like 20 of them. You sell. Kidogo, a salesman from, these people go around selling loans from a circle approaches you. You get a loan for 2 million shillings for that product. You sell it. Kidogo, we are hearing you in the news. You got 500 million shillings cash injection from a local bank. In the meantime, Mr. Graduate there, PowerPoint presentations, Excel
Mhm.
sheets, analysis, reanalysis, meetings,
Analysis paralysis.
YouTube, YouTube sessions, I don't know, community chats, talking with experts abroad. 5 years down the line, you are nowhere. This guy has just received 500 million, and most of the time, financing comes with expertise because these people want their money to be recouped properly, to be saved. So we are giving you financial backup, and we are networking you to a group of experts in your field. Within a short time, you had a very funny looking thing. After 5 years, you have a highly refined product because they gave you a loan of 500 million, Bob, and some experts to back you in product refinement.
Mm.
But you will not get there if you didn't have to break that because you have to start on your own. That is why I would call it a disadvantage of where we are located. When we did the Zero Bike, if we were in Europe,
Mhm.
money would be flowing in. But where we are, we realize we have to make another step on our own.
Mhm.
We said, okay, minimum compliance, maximum strategy. We know what to do, and we know where you're going to place our product. We know who you're going to target. We know
Mhm.
where, which line, which avenue you're going to follow. As opposed to, you can be part of what I call the KCB, Kenya Compliance Battalion. Oh, this thing. Oh, this government. Oh, there's no innovation. Oh, the economy. Oh, the American dollar. If you want that, KCB has a lot of members. You can just go to the bus stop, you can sit in a matatu, you can stand under a tree. Those members are many, and you sort of boost each other. And there's a certain feeling of relief when you castigate the government and the county government and the central government, plus the police and the banking sector, plus all sectors in the country, you unawapatia kidonge chao, then you go home, you are relieved. But when it comes to your net output, especially mentally, you've done nothing. You have not actualized a single idea in your head because you spend so much time in this analysis paralysis
Paralysis. Yeah.
and
There's
the information constipation and plus the
yeah.
complaints. So you're just clogging. You become, I think, I've bumped into some people in their 60s and 70s, and they're so bitter. You become this depicted the bitter old man. Yeah,
Mm.
during our days, but if during your days were like this, what did you build? You did nothing. So we
Two,
really have to fight the demons in our head. Yeah.
the demons in this head that we have. I've always said this.
Mm,
It's both an enabler and it can also be the very thing that sabotages you.
mm,
And two things come in mind. I remember listening to a conversation between a son and his father. His father is about 90 years old. He actually has dementia, so he keeps forgetting stuff. He has memory loss. And he once asked his father, he said, "Dad, what advice would you give to any young person?" And the guy just said very casually, all they need to do is just follow through on what you know. Follow through on what you know. It's not how much you have accumulated, it's not what you don't know yet, but let the first step that leads you to action be what you already have at hand. So that's one. A few weeks ago, we were actually having a conversation with a couple of other guys, and we were trying to talk of all these self-help books that come up, each giving you this strategy and this other one giving you this other strategy. There are people that get sort of sucked in to that cycle, always searching for that new strategy, for that new hack.
and I think he has been hacked. Let me check my internet. I think Andrew Mutua has finally been hacked. I think he's reloading again. My internet speed is very okay. Oh, let me see. Hello? Hey. Hello? Hey. Nakus, nakus, nakusikia? Nakusikia na my internet speed is very okay. Mm. Mm. You are back now. Unmute.
Can you hear me?
Umerudi? Uko sawa? Uko sawa?
Niko sawa sasa.
Uko
You
sawa?
know, the other day,
Hujalipa internet bill?
you know, walinitumia message jana.
Hmm.
They were saying that there's been a fiber cut. And
Sorry,
the
Sharif Mustafa,
CCN
imeingia accidentally, sorry. We are back, we are back, we are back. Okay. That was Sharif Mustafa.
Eh,
Alikuwa anapiga simu studio kuuliza what is happening.
iko shida gani? Kwani mmekuwa attacked? Unajua
Eh,
unakumbuka unakumbuka ile video tuliona ya a studio in Nakuru.
in
They have
Nakuru,
been
they got robbed bwana, live.
so maybe
Man, this
when the
Kenya is
aliens
crazy.
come.
So Sharif Mustafa, you can log back in. Amepiga simu studio kuuliza ni nini bwana.
Yeah. Yeah, now
Like I remember back in the days during KBC used to have the Kenya Charity Sweepstake. So they will
yes,
actually read out the numbers in the, I don't know, Friday evening. So
yes,
maybe
yes.
yours, 4, 2, boop. We nini bwana. Karibu Sharif Mustafa. Chantel had knocked on Andrew's door and he became Kinuthia for a few seconds.
I've locked my gate. Okay,
Mm.
the front door probably is a little open, but not
Mm.
unless she decides to jump over the
Jump
fence.
over. Or she can
Sasa,
parachute. She can
yes,
parachute from a helicopter.
yes. I've
It is what
warded
it
her
is.
off. So,
Yeah,
yes, I don't know where I lost you.
yeah. Where were we? Where were we? You talked of a situation whereby this old man was telling his son that whatever you know, work with it.
Yes, just follow through on what you know. So
Yeah.
it's not in the accumulation of information.
Mm.
It's I think it's and I actually that even ties into another thing, and I think we probably discussed it, where somebody said believe in action. I think action is where the magic actually lies.
Just
It's
start.
not it's not in the information you've acquired and accumulated. It is in the action. And
Yes.
you raised something called information constipation.
Mm.
And I'll relate that to also another conversation that we had where we were talking about this whole fascination and obsession with self-help books and sort of always looking out for the next arc or strategy. Sometimes you actually just get off having read an Anthony Robinson, a James Clear, or whatever other new um, authors come up, and whatever other new strategy that has been proposed. And this is not to say there's no value in any of that. There is, yes, value. Uh, but actually, somebody said it best. You need to look at the ratio of what you are inputting and outputting. If the input exceeds the output, then you
That
have
is
that kind of
constipation.
constipation because you know you're not acting out any of the information. And then the other thing I also learned, because I was also heavy sometimes on reading books and acquiring and accumulating information, um I've lost that thought.
Focus, Chantel, toa Chantel kwa kichwa.
I just lost that thought, and it was a highly profound thought.
Those
Ah,
Chantels are brown skin with long hair. We understand.
yeesh.
This one
It's
is
a
like
ceremony.
it's like saying you in your kitchen you have like 10 cookbooks, international, but every day is ugali sukuma wiki you are cooking. Why don't you just
Make use of those cookbooks and make something
you are
different.
always shopping. I am a cookbook connoisseur. I have the
Mm,
best cookbooks. But if we pass by your house for lunch,
mm.
the same old
Ugali
ugali,
skuma.
oga, and half cooked onions and you're like, sasa wewe, see nini hii cookbooks ukashare naye jiko. They are not
Mm,
assisting me anyway.
mm,
And
mm.
most of the things me I cook in my house I've gotten through YouTube.
Oh yeah, even me,
Yeah.
I've learned quite a
And
bit
in
on
YouTube, I don't
YouTube.
even need to watch the entire clip. I know
Yes,
hii ndio ingredients, weka kwa moto, ongeza na mafuta, tutajulia mbele. It won't kill you.
exactly.
Worst case scenario, it
Ah,
will just taste weird, and I'll
and then
throw it away.
even
Mm,
sometimes when you're cooking,
mm, mm,
you, 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 you you might find even maybe there's a piece of ingredient you don't have.
mm.
So it also forces you to sort of adapt,
Improvise. Or you can
improvise.
improvise. Yeah.
And actually, now my thought has finally come. What I was
Okay.
saying was,
Mm,
sometimes we get so reliant on books or external
mm,
knowledge
mm.
and never look to our own knowledge. How can we generate new information from within ourselves? And we can't do that. But
Mm.
partly, even the way the education system has been built sometimes forces you, you've heard of terms like benchmarking, you've heard of terms like citing someone, you've heard of terms like making reference to this. And yes, not a bad thing. Of course, you sort of build on those that have gone ahead of you, but this has become sort of a crutch
Yeah.
that we can always fall onto, and never take a moment to build our own knowledge. And actually, the person who brought this information so clear is Kibe, because Kibe, you hear a lot of times he says, you're just regurgitating information you've read or you've been
Head
taught
knowledge.
in school, head knowledge.
Mm.
When are you going to observe and reflect and come up with your own assumptions, come up with your own theories, and devise or build up some new knowledge? So yes, so this is part of that, I think, mess that we find ourselves so much with this
Yeah, we
information.
tend to feel very, very superior when we quote somebody, Confucius,
Mm, Confucius say.
Michelangelo, I don't know, Marie Curie, and na, na wenzao wakina
Mm,
wherever, Ojwang
yeah,
Atari, and
mm,
whoever
mm,
said so.
mm,
And the reason is why I sort of agree with that, what Kibe said about the book knowledge and the whatever, is
mm,
we cannot even say that this product was because of a research from a certain education institution.
mm,
If we could say now we are saving A, B, C, D because of a research that was done by this school, or students of this school are
mm,
now running prototypes of this in conjunction with this manufacturer to see if we can bring down the cost of this daily consumable product. We are running certain commodity that will see the cost of milk dropping by 30 shillings. Now we'll say, now something is happening. The only thing our school is giving you is an opportunity to sing on TV when you get A in KCSE. You do. But that's why I really have no qualms on people who look down on education.
mm,
Education would have now brought down the, like, this thing I'm always singing, but I've talked to people who have money, some so-called even I call them motor vehicle experts in quotes. About this thing, we talked of a series hybrid, how they can reduce our cost of fuel. Nothing, absolutely nothing. No wonder
Mm.
those guys who are not educated but they are rich, they tend to look down on the so-called degree holders. They look,
Yes,
na hiyo
yes,
masomo
yes.
yenyu inawasaidia nini? We are always importing everything. We have to wait for a better version of the import. At least you can say we are importing something, then the next time we are not importing it because that which we imported, we are now making it better. So that the
Mm.
second version is an improved, it is locally improved. But we have to
Mm.
sit back and wait for an improved version from abroad. Case study motor vehicles. Uh, we have like the Toyotas. For most of what Toyota does, they just change the body and some bit of trim, but it's normally the same engine per class.
It's the
Like I
same.
know Toyota Kluger, Toyota Harrier, and Toyota Ipsum is one vehicle.
Exactly.
Eh.
Mm.
So why can't someone say like this 2014, 2015 Toyota Kluger is out? Let me start an industry that specializes in reshaping bodies of these vehicles.
Mm.
Eh, body and trim and whatnot, screens, but the engine is the same. You can do some conditioning on the engine, shock up, it becomes an industry on its own, whereby somebody can consider instead of importing another car, I can take this my vehicle to this industry and they'll reshape it in a very nice way. They have the spare panels. If it is lamps, they have the spare lamps. And I come out with a new car. You remember the good old days when, I don't know if it's happening, whereby something is wrong with your shoe, they change the sole.
Oh, yes.
Mm,
I mean, let me tell you, because I was born and raised in Machakos.
mm,
I remember
mm,
um, this was like, it's like a big shop, a
mm,
sizable size of a shop that
mm,
used to literally manufacture shoes.
mm,
And those shoes, if you buy shoes out of that shop, used
mm,
to be very high quality. Yes, and you could take to them, they
mm,
could put a new sole. You know,
mm.
they would do sort of the advanced level repair than your
Yeah,
typical clover. What do you call them?
Glober, Glober.
Clover, yeah, clover.
Mm,
Those guys on the streets.
mm.
Now they are no longer. I don't know if they're even there. Now we just have shoe shiners. But there
Glober,
was a
yeah.
shop where they would actually they would get leather, and
Mm,
these guys would design their own shoes and make them in
mm.
Machakos town. I remember that so keenly. Before, and of course, and they used to play in the same space with the Batas and others that used to be there. But the market
Mm.
was big enough; you could still go and get. But they knew the ones that came from this shop was even much more superior from a Bata shoe.
So now those are guys are in fact, so if you go back to them, you want a new sole, they replace it for you. You want a new
Yeah.
top end, they can replace it for you. So these things you are saying, I think we are just shooting ourselves in the foot for no particular reason.
Mm,
Why would this point raised? If you, let's say you have that, that old school Toyota Premium is called Nyoka. Why would you
mhm,
sit somewhere, wait for the now, you don't know, the next version of the premium, when someone can set up an industry based on the
mm,
dimension of this chassis, they can build for you another body for the new one.
mm,
Already, right now, there are people who are doing what we call nose cuts, where they change the front. They are doing it to the Land Cruiser, whereby someone takes a nose cut for latest Land Cruiser, just plugs. Why don't you now build very nice bodies and upgrade vehicles locally?
mm,
Because okay, I don't know about other vehicles, I don't know, but if it is specifically Toyota, the Premio 98 and the Nyoka and the one for 2013 and the 2015s up to the latest, they look the same. It's practically the same vehicles.
mm,
So why are we? That's why we have so many opportunities for creating industry. You can actually create an industry out of anything.
mm.
I found it quite strange that you are actually buying a next version of the same thing that you have. So it's a bit weird. It's a very, very weird, and to a large extent, I think we are responsible for our own failings. As much as we
Mm.
are talking about the government, the business community seems to be stuck in very old ways.
Mm.
Very, very. There are so many industries. Like Sharif Mustafa sent me a picture of. Let me just set it here. This is a picture of bread
Mhm.
made from pumpkin flour. Can you just look at it? This is something that I got from Sharif Mustafa. Then I'm wondering, people are complaining about wheat. Oh, bei ya ngano imeenda juu, sijui nini. And I'm like, this is an entire industry. I don't think pumpkin requires fertilizer. These are things just they just grow. Right? We have so much access to biomass, and we are importing cooking gas. I'm like, yeah, that's it.
I mean, it goes back to you know I just actually um, today when I was just before we started, I texted you telling you I might be running late
Mhm.
because I'm part of the local Rotary Club here in Rwanda. It's called Rotary Club of Kigali Virunga, and today I went for a project visit. It's in an area which is about 2 hours out of Kigali, north of Kigali, and it is a project in which we had partnered with a Japanese Rotary Club. So they had actually traveled down to Rwanda specifically to come and visit and see that project because they contributed towards it. We contributed towards the same also. So I mean, if there is a group of people that have fascinated me with their culture, um, is the Japanese. And we were just interacting with one of them, and he's an old guy, probably must be in his either late 60s, early 70s. And he was showing us pictures of where he lives in Japan. It's in a small island. What he does, he says he enjoys swimming and he does spear fishing. So he was showing us all this kind of cool stuff. And some of us were being amazed. He showed us a book which is written East Africa, sharing what are the things that you'd find when you visit East Africa. And someone I think a local Rwandan was getting surprised. Oh, you have it in Japanese? He doesn't know that they have an established alphabet system, um, and it's generally just observing them. You see people that one believe in themselves. I mean, Japan is probably what if we look around, we are probably surrounded by a lot of Japanese products all around
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
This used to be the second largest economy not too far long ago, and I mean even now it's what the third largest after China. It's still a formidable country. It's still a formidable group of people that build things, that believe in themselves, that um, believe in their own traditions. So, I mean, I was just trying to juxtapose the people and probably looking at us. I mean, not necessarily in a comparison way, but just to understand what is it that made this nation. And it is not necessarily the largest. I mean, Japan must be what, 120 million people?
And
But
it's actually a chain of islands, if I'm not wrong.
it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's 125 million. And it was not too long ago the second largest economy to a nation that had 1.2 billion, several times over, 10 times over them. Actually, China is 1.4.
I think something we, you know,
And
the
it's just
moment.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's maybe just to wrap it up. It's understanding, and it just still goes back to what we are saying, generating new knowledge. We always think that when you talk of wheat, you're talking of bread, that bread can never come out of another produce other than wheat. But here you're showing us an example of bread made out of pumpkin. We were
Yes.
talking of chapatis the other day made out of what? Was it sorghum or what was it?
No, from green bananas.
From green bananas.
Yes.
So the new knowledge is to understand we can begin to diversify
Yeah.
and question the status quo and provide alternatives to that status quo. If bread is made out of wheat, yes, but we can also have another bread made out of other produce. And I'm sure it's not just it's not such pumpkin. I'm sure if we were to look on a list of other produce, we could make bread out of it. So how do we begin understanding that yes, the world that was given to us says this way, but we can begin to fashion another world of our own which also offers something else, if not superior. It's an alternative to that
And
other
then
world that we.
in matters like when you look at the cost of infrastructure, this is something I was just playing with my mind over 5 years ago. Then when I Google, it was happening. There are places where you can build a road using bricks. They tell you a brick road can last 15 years. Then you can just rebrick it again. Why are you not doing so? Why are we, if we are having problems with the resources, there are so many ways. Even we have cement, concrete roads, which I think, which company? There's a company that was using concrete roads outside this, outside Kenya, and the
Yeah.
methods are there. Everything is there. So, which brings me back to the some conclusion I made. I think last week we are we. This is a programmed thing whereby the
Mm,
population has been programmed and compressed to survival mode. You know, when you are surviving, you can't think.
mm,
You cannot think at all. So my take is that there's a certain programming. It is intentional.
mm,
I don't think we are the sharpest people in the country. There are people in high positions who know what needs to be done, but they know it will be against their interests.
mm,
Because if I talk about a system vehicle that whereby diesel consumption will go down by 35%, and there's somebody within that system is getting 20 shillings per liter of diesel purchased as kickback, what am I doing? Am I not going to war with the system? So I think this is an issue of the moment you are able to land on resources, run with them, launch, disrupt, do whatever you want to do. Because if you start this sort of activism type, already you are stuck with people who are in the ship mentality and accept, accept whatever is available. Like yesterday, I was taking a walk around at the river. There was a matatu which was parked by. It was they were touting some of these matatus that I use when going to Kitengela. I looked in it like the ones that passed through the river. That vehicle looked battered, filthy, it yani mbovu kabisa. And people are just quiet, like, okay, it is what people are using to travel with. But nobody will question why the transport system looks like this. It's like it's okay. Yani you call people who are beaten mentally. I'm sure that kind of vehicle, if you take it in another country, somebody will ask, is this you are transporting people here?
exactly.
Yeah.
Even
And
their dogs are not worthy to be put
yeah.
in
So
such a
I
vehicle.
think we are somehow beaten mentally. And this is what this is what we call fuel for the political engine.
Mm,
Because if we question things in large numbers and we start saying no to some things, the political engine will die. And that is why the people running that engine have to keep us like this. If you adapt a certain way of doing in mass, you'll kill that engine. So, and from when you look at the attitude of Kenyans, I would want to believe that there's an abundant supply of that fuel. This engine will run for a long, long time, and this I was convinced when I was in a Facebook group and I was telling them, guys, why are you celebrating a train running at 29k pace? Oh, you know how cheap that thing is. Do you know how people struggle to get fare during Christmas? You should be grateful and blah blah blah. And then I realized, oh, this one is
Mediocrity. That's
uh,
mediocrity right there.
we call them, these are agents of the matrix.
Mm.
You can be an agent of the matrix and you don't know.
Yeah.
Eh. So I love things with locomotives because I live near where they pass frequently. So I managed to get access to a group that has people knowledgeable in those locomotives. So I used to ask the common one that is used by Kenya is called GEUC 20 U26C. Now, when you go
It's
to
a,
the GE U26C, that's the locomotive.
it's a General
Leave alone
Electric engine.
the diesel electric ones. Leave alone
Mm.
for the China, the ones that run by Kenya Railways, called
Mhm.
GE U26C. When I look at its specs, it has the capacity to run at 120 kilometers per hour.
Mm.
So I was talking to some people saying the problem why we cannot run at such speed is maintenance. Our railway network is maintained poorly. And if you actually stand along a rail in the mid center and you look straight, you'll actually see that the railway line is crooked.
Mm. It
The
is.
railway lines are not,
Actually,
they are not straight.
if you're on the train, you can see there's some times that it
Yes.
wiggles like this.
So this guy was telling us the way the trains are run at maximum of 40, or when you are nearing Nairobi Central Station, you'll get to around 55 or 56. That is the most we can go as per the standard of our meter gauge railway line. So I was asking, how come the meter gauge railway line for Singapore runs at 160? They told me it's maintenance. And again, Chantel has come back. Man, this Chantel character. Chantel. Chantel version 2. Man. Let me call him on phone. Chantel has managed to parachute through the. Oh yeah, Chantel ameruka kwa fence. Umevamiwa. Now I am live and people are seeing me on the phone, and then again ambia Chantel bwana, hapana bwana. Ajaribu on Sunday. It's called puniness. A podcast for two people has been left by one person rambling around here. Like, okay, let's wait for him, Sharif Mustafa. I think he locked the door and Chantel parachuted in commando style. Now, let's see if he comes back. If he doesn't come back, we'll know that Kinudiadum has finally checked in his head. And he's finally out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let me call him again. This has been the most interesting podcast I've ever been part of. It's like having sex, then your partner disappears all of a sudden. I don't know. You have to complete it with a wank, or I don't know what they're going to do now. So I think I'll briefly log off, then we'll see if we can log back in. So, guys, not guys, guy, just hold on a bit. Sharif Mustafa will get back to you shortly. Sorry for that.
Sharif Mustafa, if you can see me, give me a thumbs up. Today the internet, man. Great. Let's give Brian 1 minute to join. Hello.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you sound a little low. You have muted. Unmute.
Am I audible now?
Perfect.
Ah,
I
wonderful,
had to
wonderful.
restart the modem. As I was telling you,
Mhm.
we do have an internet issue. I think it started probably Thursday, Friday. Although I
Okay.
didn't experience much, maybe it's because I didn't do many calls then. But they are told us there's a fiber cut, so they are running on their backup. And I wonder if there's a fiber cut that is here. Most likely they are using what is being used in Kenya.
Hmm.
And you
Ama
guys seem not.
wanapitisha na pipe ya maji.
Inaweza kuwa. So
From our end,
uh,
like my supplier, whenever we hear fiber cut, it's
yes,
zero, huwa inaenda kabisa. So ya Rwanda wamejaribu. From our end, whenever I hear there's a fiber cut, just know
yeah.
that is Mbandala. Sorry, tumia call box.
Yeah, but I think they have worked on some backups, and the fiber cuts have been fewer, if I'm not mistaken. There was a time, I think, just at the onset when undersea fiber cable came in. Yeah, let me hope not. When undersea fiber, because it came in, I think, what was it, around 2010, 2011?
Mm-hmm.
I remember in those initial years, 2012, 13, 14, we would have a lot of those fiber cuts. And the service degradation will be so pathetic that it's like everything grounds to a halt. But later on they improved, and there'll be those undersea fiber cut issues, but there'll also be the ones where competitors are sabotaging one another, so somebody would cut one or the
Serious?
other. Oh yeah, there used to be those. Yeah, I was actually
Well,
discussing that with someone last Sunday, and I remember that's when, because this was the Mitange era, they were
uh-huh.
even able to put in a law in parliament that if somebody is caught having done this fiber cut, as a way to sabotage the other competitor, it will be seen as economic sabotage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is some. By the way, your jazz show. I've played some of their music. It's nice. Is there like some a copyright clause in them? Man, this fiber cut is hey, hey, hey. This is abnormal. It's like banging someone and she's every time going to pick a call. Yeah, Mr. Fiber Cut. Rudy one. Rudy, we close. Rudy, we close.